14 new community infections today, the lowest in 2 weeks, and there's one dormitory case.
Getting jabbed. One ride-hailing firm is offering users free rides to travel to and from vaccination centres.
Thinking of what to tapao for dinner, we look at how Singaporeans can share their support for elderly hawkers.
Welcome to The Big Story, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. I'm Olivia Quay.
I'm Haryanto Diman. You can subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode. Singapore today reported 15 new cases of local Covid-19 transmission, 14 in the community and 1 residing in a migrant worker dormitory.
12 are linked to previous cases and all were already quarantined. The remaining 3 are currently unlinked. 9 imported cases were also confirmed, with 7 being returning Singaporeans or PRs, and you can look out for more details later tonight. Gojek users going to get their Covid-19 shots can now use vouchers for their trips to the vaccination centres.
The ride-hailing company is giving out a pair of vouchers worth $15 each to all users, which are automatically added to their accounts today and can be used until August 31st.
Well, the vouchers can be used on any day of the week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. New users who sign up with the platform between today and August 31st will also receive the vouchers, and these are on top of a discount voucher usually extended to all new users.
Meanwhile, despite kicking off its mass vaccination drive behind countries like the US, UK and Israel, an expert says Singapore is still among the top 25 nations when it comes to vaccination pace.
Our vaccine rollout started later because of supply constraints, but the speed of vaccination should pick up once there are adequate continuous supplies of approved vaccines.
A study has found that women were less satisfied with their marriages during and after the circuit breaker.
I can relate because, this could be due to, they had to take on more, right? When it comes to, their fair share of housework on top of other stresses that the pandemic has brought to daily life.
The study by the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy at NUS examined the roles men and women played when it came to childcare and housework during the pandemic last year. It also looked at the difference in the time men and women spent on such tasks.
290 married women who have at least 1 child each were part of the study.
The gender gap in terms of who does the household chores rose during the circuit breaker. Now let's take a look. Before that period, women spent an average of 68 minutes a day on chores, while men spent 43 minutes a day.
During the circuit breaker, this rose to 112 minutes for women, nearly twice the amount of time men spent on housework.
After the circuit breaker, women did chores for an average of 108 minutes each day, and men spent just over an hour on them.
Let's take this further with Dr. Tan Earn Sir. He's a sociologist with the National University of Singapore. Welcome back, Doctor. So do you think the circuit breaker has changed entrenched stereotypical power dynamics between husband and wife? Like the husband makes the money while the wife, takes care of the home and kids.
Well, let me begin by saying that I think in recent times, with greater affluence, with modernization, there's in fact a shift towards the greater gender equality and more equality among family members. So what we are seeing now is that it is not quite the kind of family that we used to have before, but it's a lot more symmetrical, a lot more egalitarian. But having said that, let me also add on to say that, I think with the circuit breaker may actually present a lot of challenges and thereby more conflict, but it could also present more opportunities for understanding and collaboration. I believe that if the couple could come to a point of understanding each other's job priorities and that of the priority of the family as well, then it will be all for the better. But I also add that, having said that, doesn't mean that equal involvement necessarily means equal division of labor in terms of involvement, in terms of effort.
Doctor, we're essentially in another situation where working from home is the default. Do you reckon these patterns will re-emerge, or are they actually continuing from last year's circuit breaker?
Well, my view is that I think people would have learned from the experience last year. I mean, the circuit breaker last year was in April, and now we are already in May, almost going to June. in 2021. So I reckon they will learn something over the past 1 year. And essentially, I would say that if the couple really want the best for each other and for the family, they would have make some adaptation and the necessary adjustment over that period of time.
I see. Well, Dr. Tan, the study found that the gender gap in terms of housework rose during the circuit breaker and persisted for all families regardless of their income. Women spent almost twice the amount doing housework compared with men during and after the circuit breaker. So how can men be more involved in that aspect?
Well, I think to begin with, right, men must see housework as a joint responsibility if they have not already done so. So from that basis, they can decide on the best arrangement in terms of workload and division of labor, the domestic division of labor. And I think the domestic division of labor must not be based on gender, but on what they do, what they each do best to complement one another's effort. So in other words, I'm saying that it's not a gender division of labor, but a division of labor based on what they do best for one another and for the family.
Well, thank you so much for your insights, Dr. Tan. We've been speaking with Dr. Tan Eun Seo, an associate professor with NUS's Sociology Department.
Also making headlines, the decline in receipts for the services sector eased further in the first quarter with a dip of 1.5% year-on-year. This an improvement from the revised 7.6% decline in Q4. The performance among the industries was mixed. Administrative and support services recorded the largest year-on-year drop, while the information and communications industry was the star performer, with turnover jumping 21% year-on-year.
Overseas, from tonight, Australia's Victoria State will be in a week-long lockdown, forcing its almost 7 million residents to stay home except for essential work, healthcare, grocery shopping or to take their Covid-19 shots. The state reported 12 new cases today. A fresh cluster of infections in Melbourne detected earlier this week has swelled to 26 cases and the number of virus-exposed locations crossed 150.
Facebook and Instagram are giving all users the option to hide public likes on their posts. This potentially upends a core dynamic of these platforms where like counts are seen as a sign of a person's influence, but it comes amid mounting criticism that these can be harmful to the well-being of users and society. Now, if you opt out of sharing public like counts, others can see a list of who liked the post, but not the number of likes.
Rachel, Ross, Monica, Chandler, Joey and Phoebe, you've guessed it right, all back together at Apartment 20 and Central Perk.
The Friends reunion premiered earlier today on HBO Go at 3 p.m. in Singapore. And could we be more excited?
Let's bring in journalist Jan Lee, who has seen the reunion episode and is here to share more about it. But no spoilers, please, Jan. Fans were rather disappointed that the reunion was more of a chat show, games, etc., rather than a special episode checking in on the characters nearly 20 years on. Your thoughts on this, Jan? Did the format end up working?
So because right from the beginning when it was announced, it was always announced as an unscripted special. So I didn't really feel disappointed in the sense that I didn't expect it to be anything else. So it was always going to be, them reminiscing about their time on the show, which I guess some people felt like, then what's the point? They wanted to see a story. But for me, I sort of understood, and there's a part of me that doesn't really want to see them now. Like, I don't really want to see the characters now, because there's a part of me that's like, it ended on a very nice note and let's just leave it as that, and if you start it up, you're gonna have to have new storylines, you're gonna have to have conflicts, and the producers always said, Friends is about that time in your life when you're friends with your family. And at the end of the show, all of the friends, at least most of them, started to have their own families with kids, with partners and spouses. So I can understand why they didn't come back for a scripted special. I think the special this time around, the format kind of works. There are definitely, I definitely cried. Like, as a fan who grew up watching the show, and it's, it's my comfort show. It's the kind of show that you can put on when you're eating dinner and you just need something to watch. So that's great. But there were definitely parts where I cried as a fan. There were definitely parts that were very, very touching. There were parts that I learned new things about the show that I didn't know about before. There were clips that I've never seen before, which is quite surprising because I feel like I've seen a lot of clips. But in any case, those parts really worked. There were a lot of guest stars, which sometimes I think took attention away from the main cast of Friends, right? And the executive producers, Kevin Bright, Martha Kaufman, David Crane, who really had the most interesting anecdotes and stories. But I understand why they wanted to bring in more people to sort of show you like the impact that Friends has had on people. You know, there was like BTS coming in, there was like Kit Harington. But there were definitely parts where I was like, this celebrity does not need to be here right now. I don't know why they're here. So
Well, you know, the reunion has been promoted heavily. So did it live up to, you know, all the hype?
I think it really depends on how hyped up you were about it. I mean, I had my expectations kind of very tempered by the fact that it was unscripted. So I didn't really expect anything, you know, to come out of it that was like, oh, we're doing a new episode, a new story. You know, I didn't expect any big announcements. I just kind of sort of wanted to see them together in the same space and get together and talk about their time, which is exactly what they did. So that was quite fun. There were some games that, you know, I think if you're a fan, you might find it quite interesting. There were also a lot of anecdotes about behind the scenes filming that I think a lot of fans would find quite satisfying to listen to. But if you're looking for like, you know, big announcements or like something, you know, breaking news, there's no breaking news here. There's something that I think will be in the headlines tomorrow. I won't spoil it, but it's not really breaking news. It's just sort of like, oh, I didn't know that happened. That's interesting, you know. That's about it really. And I think if you are a fan who's watched the show a long time, it has been with you a long time, of course you will be happy to watch them get back together in the same space. Just watching them go into the set itself is quite touching because they actually like recreated the set, like the Monica's apartment, Central Perk, Chandler and Joey's apartment. So it is quite touching to see them back there and walking through the space that they walked. And you can tell the cast themselves, they were very, very touched. And I think just that touch of nostalgia is what we all want.
Well, thanks very much, Jan. If you're a fan, remember you can watch the Friends reunion special on HBO Go.
Save the elderly hawkers, where to tapao? Well, you may have come across these social media accounts encouraging people to buy from hawker stalls amid this round of tighter measures.
How useful have they been? Let's find out from food correspondent Eunice Quick. So Eunice, have you been able to see the effects yet of these initiatives? You know, have they managed to translate to tangible sales for these hawker stalls?
So I was chatting with some of the hawkers earlier today, and they did seem to be at least aware of what was going on. You know, they knew that young people were kind of helping to post on social media and all that. But honestly, as to how much it actually translates into tangible sales, I think that is still a bit hard to tell because they do know that people are still cautious about going out, and the hawker centers in the CBD have been quite hard hit and are quieter than usual, that's for sure. However, one of the hawkers that I spoke to today at Amoy Street Food Centre, he did say that last year's circuit breaker was worse meaning that because basically people were not coming out at all, so he could only sell maybe up to like 50 cups of drinks in a day, whereas now he said that he can do maybe about 100 cups. Obviously not great, not what it used to be, but at least better than last year.
There's a risk that as the pandemic drags on, it'll further erode our hawker culture. Eunice, how likely is that, and what more can be done to help our hawkers and the hawker ecosystem itself?
Well, I certainly hope that that is not going to happen anytime soon. But when I was walking through some of the hawker centres just now, I was in the CBD area, you do see quite a number of shuttered stalls. So when I was talking to some of the hawkers, they were saying that it is a mix of some of the hawkers that are taking this month to kind of take a break. Some of them are also uncertain as to whether they will return. And that is really depending on how the pandemic situation evolves. So if this really does drag on, you could see some retiring earlier than they planned to, because they are already in their 60s, 70s. And it may also, I hope not, but the younger ones might also think carefully about joining the industry. To help them, obviously, things like rental waivers, subsidies would definitely go a long way. And of course, all the help on social media can help to boost support. And I mean, personally, for all of us, if you are working at home, you can, take away from the coffee shop hawker near you, the hawker centers nearby. If you have the means to, you can do a quick run to the CBD if it is convenient. And I think what also helps a lot is that if you are going out to buy a meal, a chicken rice, something along those lines, maybe try and add on, a curry puff, a drink or two, maybe some desserts, because these are the cheaper items in a sense that are unlikely to be on delivery platforms. And, you're not going to pay like $1 for someone to deliver. You're not going to pay a delivery fee for $1, a $1 kopi, for example, right? So if you are already going out, try and add on a little bit here and there to support as many hawkers as you can.
Great points there. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Eunice. That was food correspondent Eunice Quek. Look out for her story on this in the Sunday Times.
Well, Life has also brought back its stay-home guide to get you through this period of heightened alert, and you can read it on Mondays to Thursdays. For more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below. Once again, I'm Haryanto Diman with Olivia Quay. Join us tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.